Hello, hello. Welcome to Making Sense of It, where we look at some of the ways of Dr. William Glasser's expression of some really deep, powerful, life-changing things. But sometimes it's like we scratch our head like, well, what does that mean anyway? And that once you get the ins and outs of it. So our speaker today is the renowned Wendell Walker. And he is going to be presenting on understanding the brain as a control system. So, welcome everyone. And whenever the program, when we finish the recording, will be open for individual talking with one another. So, stay tuned for that. So, hello, Wendell.
Thank you, Mona. Now, you said there would be a round of applause right after.
Yes, definitely. Wendell likes a round of applause.
DT, give me a little bit of love there, DT. Thank you. All right. Anyway, so if there's enough time for the quiz, I don't know if there'll be or not, but if there's enough time for the quiz, the answer to one of the questions is the brain is a control system. Remember that. That's the answer to one of the questions. And if we don't have time for the quiz, that's still the answer. Still the answer to one of the questions. And that really is it. So that'll be the main thing. I want to today, a lot of people who are connected with Glasser more recently don't have the concept of control theory. Just as a reminder, the evolution of the name of the organization, the Glasser Institute, started at the Institute for Reality Therapy. Then it moved to the Institute for Control Theory, Reality Therapy, and Lead Management. And then people convinced him to say, just like Albert Ellis, to convince Glasser to say that it became the William Glasser Institute, which I like myself because his name is recognizable. And then 4 or 5 years ago, it became in the US, the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory, because that was the driving thing. We still have William Glasser International. And I don't know if there's any talk about that changing or not, but not likely. I mean, that's right. So I want to kind of review a little bit about the movement from reality therapy, the addition of control theory, talking about control systems, and then the morphing into choice theory. Oh, here's another one too. Quick. DT and Rose. DT and RT. What was the title of Glasser's first book? No penalty for guessing wrong.
Mental health something.
Oh, hush. You're not. I said DT and Rose.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was choice therapy. I can't remember the name of it now, but I know it's the one that I read.
Mona.
Yeah. I'm looking for the book.
Yeah, erase this part of the recording. Well, it's a trick question because we think of William Glasser and reality therapy. Hi, Sue. Reality therapy was published in 1965. Okay, but 5 years earlier, his first book was Mental Health or Mental Illness. My understanding of the story is that once Glasser moved from medical school in Cleveland and went to Los Angeles to do his psychiatric residency, and at the Veterans Hospital in West Los Angeles, that as successful as he was in there, because he turned against the traditional psychoanalytic thinking of things, that he never once got a referral when he went into private practice from anybody in that community. So he worked at the Ventura School for Girls for 7 years and then started in private practice. My understanding also is that in 30 years of private practice as a quote psychiatrist. He was really a counseling psychologist by practice, but a psychiatrist by credentialing. My understanding is that in 30 years of private practice, he never once prescribed psychiatric medication. Is that Sharon, Sue, Mona, does that sound right to you?
Yes.
That's the word, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that phenomenal? 30 years. So he really was not, he was not persona non grata, but they just didn't support him after he graduated or after he got certified too. But mental health and mental illness was his first book. 60, Reality Therapy, 1965. He had such phenomenal success at the Ventura School for Girls, one of the many girls adolescent prisons in California. And again, my understanding is that the recidivism rate for girls who were leaving the Ventura School for Girls was way down compared to the general recidivism rate across the state. And so then you have people saying, what are they doing over there? And some people would say, I want to come over and visit to see what you're doing because we want to try to do better. Other people would say they must be cooking the books, lying about numbers, working the numbers and what have you. And that's what you get from people who are ashamed of their own record and incompetent anyway. But he said, if we have this much success with girls when they've already been kicked out of school, when they've left school, when society has, put them in jail, I wonder what we could do if we got in touch with them while they were still in school. So then he wrote the book, Schools Without Failure, 1969. And almost every educator that I've ever talked to read that book. It was part of their educational training in the early 70s and so forth. And then the next book, The Identity Society, came up later on. That's a book people don't know much about. So reality therapy caught on like wildfire. It was successful in a lot of different areas, drug and alcohol addictions, especially. School counselors have loved it forever. And mental health people, a fair number of clergy also. We had the original 8 steps of reality therapy. This group over here loved it because it was understandable, it was doable, it was effective. You could learn it quickly, you could get good at it. It was respectful and everything. This group over here says, well, this can't be much of an approach because it's too simple-minded. And the big argument was, what's your theoretical foundation, your justification for using this? Well, there wasn't any. Glasser did talk about thinking that people had a need for love and worth, but that was kind of vague, although those are part of choice theory today, a big part of it. So for years, there was constant criticism on the lack of a real formal educational approach to reality therapy, but it just worked so well. And so quietly, sometimes not so quietly, Glasser was lamenting about the lack of a theoretical foundation and was looking and asking and for and everything. I had a discussion with Dr. Nancy Buck, one of our longtime colleagues, who is the originator of and author of the book Peaceful Parenting, which is a choice theory based, and she's got a wonderful website. If you just Google Dr. Nancy Buck and Peaceful Parenting. And I talked with her because I had heard different stories about who introduced Dr. Glasser to control theory and Dr. William Powers. and come to find out that Glasser had gone to New York City and had done some presentations. And Alex Basson, who later was a professor of criminology at Florida State University, was in New York City in the Brooklyn area then. And they were having lots of problems with the corrections system there. And Alex Basson had heard Glasser, glommed onto him. That's what happens to a lot of people. You read a chapter in the series of counseling class, or you go see Glasser and you say, my goodness, finally someone is speaking to me or about what I think. Well, Alex Basson introduced Sam Buchholz, who was a developmental psychologist and a corrections person there. And Glasser was there. They really locked on to him. And then Buchholz invited Glasser more. They became colleagues and friends. And I guess eventually Buchholz may have become one of the first people to Glasser anointed to do training, because Nancy Buck told me she took her initial training from Sam Buchholz. So then Buchholz ran across the book, Behavior, the Control of Perceptions. Behavior, the Control of Perceptions by Dr. William Powers. William Powers was one of the leading control theorists studying control systems. He was in Chicago. And so Buchholz suggested to Glasser, and then later sent him a copy of the book, that Glasser read the book, Behavior, the Control of Perception. And the story is that I was reading last night, reviewing again, and God, this is a great book. This is like a total review of the whole biography of William Glasser. William Glasser, a champion of choice by Dr. Jim Roy. And he recalls Glasser's movement toward William Powers. Glasser read the book, Behavior, the Control of Perception. It was an extremely scientific, fairly in-depth theoretical book. And he read it and read it and read it many times. And it started hitting him that this was the link, the missing link for him on a foundational explanation of why reality therapy was working so well. And he gave it a lot of thought and read and thought about it and what have you. And then finally, he decided he wanted to contact William Powers and engage with him. And the story that I got from somebody is that maybe he calls and leaves a message or writes to him or something. And probably like a lot of people who are really busy and whatever, are protective of their time. You know, they don't, like I don't return every phone call where somebody leaves a message. If it's about tennis, I do. If it's about choice theory, reality therapy, lead management, I do. But anyways, I don't return a lot of phone calls. You know, my wife has a wonderful message on her phone. This is the voicemail for Dawn Walker. Leave a message if you like. You could say if you choose. You know, she doesn't say leave a message and I'll call you back. That ain't happening. Yeah, somebody I think left a message. Leave a message and I might call you back. which is choice theory in its purest form, you know. Anyway, so Glasser does this reach out to William Powers, and Powers's book was in 1973. Glasser is reading it in 1976. All right. Glasser then leaves this message for Powers. Powers is in Chicago. His wife was a librarian. I don't know if that meant at a public or university or public school or whatever, but she was a librarian. So Power says to his wife, look this guy Glasser up. See if he's anybody. See if I need to spend any of my time with him. So his wife says, well, I checked him out. Glasser's written several books and they're in the library. And not only are they there, but sometimes people actually check them out. So I guess that was the okay. So Powers gave Glasser the okay. They had, maybe like an hour-long phone conversation. They had numerous phone conversations, and Powers picked up with Glasser, and the two just kind of melded with each other. Glasser then finally went to Chicago, and the story is he spent several days at Powers's house, just the two of them talking, discussing, sharing, challenging, and what have you. And I'm going to fast forward. Sometime later, Powers put out a word that he thought it took people about 2 years to fully integrate the notion of internal control. And that was the phrase that got Glasser, that people were internally controlled and not externally controlled. And that's the essence of control systems. But Glasser and he spent several days just hashing out. So Glasser goes back, then he starts, and Powers's book was very difficult to read for most people. And even Glasser had a lot of trouble with it. And then Glasser, let me see one right here. Where am I here? One. Glasser started, come on, baby. Glasser started writing his own book. And then what we're going to do, no, not yet. Oh, I'm missing a page, I guess. This book was to become Stations of the Mind. So if you've never heard of it, that was Glasser's first book on control theory, the whole notion of internal control. Reality Therapy Corner, one of the once a month gift Zoom meetings, had as a guest speaker Dr. Ron Carlton, clergy. And Ron, I've heard him speak a number of times that this was his favorite Glasser book, And Glasser has said before a number of times later, don't bother reading this anymore. Go directly to control theory, or now, of course, choice theory, because it's a very involved, complex book about brain work, but there'll be people who will love it and the different concepts and the orders of perception and things like that. But this was Glasser's first book, Stations of the Mind, New Directions for Reality Therapy. In other words, he now had a theoretical foundation to support reality therapy, and he wanted to write about it. So he did that, and went along for a while, and a lot of people, gave him feedback that was difficult to take in. And so then a couple of years later, he rewrote the book he translated it from scientific jargon into everyday reader friendly, take effective control of your life. This book, just a year or so later, came out in paperback as Control Theory. This was very popular. First of all, it was paperback, it's small, less expensive. And one of my favorite things that I like to share with people is that Chapter 7, why it makes sense to choose misery. What? What do you mean choosing misery? And so this has been a big deal. So to go a little ahead, you all have heard the notion of Glasser changing verbs to gerunds, depressing. How long have you been depressing? Not depressed. That sounds like passive, something happening to you. I got a little bit of maybe outside noise with the landscaping people, but depressing. And then, of course, in some psychology classes, they'll talk about what's the secondary payoff for this kind of behavior. I don't understand this. Well, it gets people something or another. I remember some good discussions before that what might be the payoff for a person to be depressing? Well, a depressing person typically, especially in this circle, would get a lot of empathy and a lot of kindness and a lot of active listening. Well, not on and on and on, because we are reality therapists who are not going to listen forever to all the other stuff. But there would be caring, and so this would be, a shoulder to lean on or what have you. So it gets paid off there. It also could be an excuse. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that. I've been so depressed. I can't think straight, what have you. So that's my excuse for being irresponsible. So it's a lot of psychologically sound discussions about the payoff for these kinds of behaviors. So that was the book Control Theory. And I also a lot of people may not know, but Glasser's first wife Naomi, who died in 1992, and then was the editor of a book of case studies. There was another book previously on reality therapy, case studies, is very helpful, and then this one was with the addition of control theory into the Glasser stuff. So those things are very helpful. Let me see where I'm at here now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think what I'd like to do, Mona, can the handout or the thing on control systems, if we could put that up, I want to go to the bottom part of it. Where's my copy?
Okay, hold on. I had it here just a minute ago.
Okay. So there's a handout. I say a handout, a paper here. If you'd like to get this handout, you can holler at me, and I'll send it to you, because I'll send it to Mona, so it would be real easy. I've done a good job over the years, like a lot of people who've been significantly immersed with Glasser stuff, of putting together one-page handouts. People can read pick up a one page and read it quickly and get the main points of whatever you're talking about too. And one of the things I like too is giving permission. Don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody else has done something good, say, can I use this? All right, Mona's bringing up. There we go. We're going to go to the bottom of that to start with, Mona. Come on down. And all right, back up a little bit. All right, what I want to do is, yeah, I want to take up the concept of control systems. Here we go. So just quickly, what I do in training, I might start with people saying, do you know anything about control systems? That's a very public sound genre of terminology there. Sometimes people know a little bit about it. Sometimes they don't know the topic at all, but we know all about them, but just don't know that we know. So just quickly, what's your sense of anything having to do with control systems, what they are? They're all around us. We use them every day. There are the air conditioning and heating in your office or home is a control system. The cruise control, speed control on in your car is a control system. Okay, security systems, electric or gas ovens, airplane autopilot systems. My understanding is that they fly the majority of the time on autopilot. I mean, they're there and can put their hands on the wheel if they want, but systems of safety, Rose is saying. There are endless control systems. Every so often I'll see a panel truck go by me and it'll say Johnson Control Systems or something like that. But security and, bells and alarms going off, that's in a part of a control system. And an inanimate control system has these components. We'll shift up a little bit, Mona. We'll go up a little higher. So they have, well, let's just take the air conditioning, heating in your office or home. We decide what temperature we want. Do we want some heat? Do we want some air conditioning? And we set the temperature. So let's say it's gotten hot and it's up to 80 degrees and we want it at 76. Right now it's just sitting there. But as soon as we set it to 76 and for cool, it pops on almost immediately. This is a control system that's trying to get what we want, the condition that we want. And it has no choice but to act in that direction. It would act if you turn the air conditioning on and you lived in Phoenix and you had all the windows open and it was 98 or 102 degrees, the air condition, well, actually, I've been out there a couple of times. A number of us had to Scottsdale for Glasser functions. My understanding is that sometimes the overnight low may be 87 or 88 degrees. So it starts off in the morning at that. If you have the windows open in your office or home, the temperature would never get to the 76 degrees that you want. The system would run, it might run for months until it malfunctioned. But it has to just keep going to try to get what you want. We've externally put it in there. So that becomes kind of the reference point, the desired state of nature, as I say here, this temperature, the speed, whatever that we want. And then the system has a way of monitoring to compare what we want with what we've got. And when it reaches comparability or equality, then it shuts off. There's no error signal. When there's a difference, there's an ERROR error signal, and the system operates and functions. And then something that generally could be called the corrective mechanism, slowing the car down, speeding it up, whatever. Those are control systems. And I love it. And those make sense to us and we understand them. So once again, the answer to one of the quiz questions, if we have time, is that the brain is a control system. That's what Power said. That's what Glasser adopted. And then Glasser adopted control theory from William Powers. And he gives Powers infinite credit. And Powers worked with him all on the book, and they consulted by phone for a couple of years and stuff like that too. But those are control systems, and that's what Glasser's description of the brain is. Well, to go back to the title of Powers's book, his way of seeing it was behavior, our behavior, quote, ... the control for perceptions. And we used to say, what are you controlling for? Well, I'm controlling for somebody to to answer my inquiry, to call me back, to respond to my inquiry, to be nice to me, to give me information, whatever, to reciprocate my affection or whatever, you know. That's what I'm quote controlling for. Now we would say that's what I want, you know. But it so the other is a very good explanation. It just took me a while to kind of get it in here where it was working pretty good. Let's look through this handout here now from the upper part. So Glasser did not develop control theory. He learned it from Powers, okay, behavior, the control perception, and direct communication on numerous occasions. Powers, he gives Powers credit. Glasser wrote his book, Stations of the Mind, in 1981, then refined his understanding and explanation of control theory in a more reader-friendly volume, Take Effective Control of Your Life, 1984, and then the paperback book, Control Theory. That became a really big selling book because of the price, the easy handling of it, and the simplistic explanation of it. There was some I don't know if it was backlash or opposition to the term control theory. People, when you first said it to people, oh, I don't like the idea of people trying to control others. Well, it wasn't controlling others, it was self-control. I think that's a legitimate phrase, self-control, because internally controlled. To take this evolution of Glasser's work with control theory, long about that time, Glasser was doing a lot of reading and keeping up on things. And Dr. W. Edwards Deming, Deming was the person who went to Japan after the close of World War II and was part of it. Oh, MacArthur. MacArthur was the overall manager of the post-war Japanese rebuilding. And Deming was there, and Deming went and spent quite a bit of time there to help, especially the automobile industries, to rebuild and to build for quality, which meant long-term rather than short-term. Build it for quality. And then we saw what happened. The Japanese automobiles took over. Glasser had been driving a Cadillac for years and years and years, and it was just great. And then one day his car was in the garage, and one of his other colleagues from out there in that area loaned him his car. I think it was either a Honda or a Nissan, and it may have had like 200,000 miles on it or something like that. There was something about it that just grabbed Glasser. And thereafter, my understanding is that he switched from Cadillacs to Japanese cars for I guess for the duration, you know. And so anyway, then Glasser exposed himself to Deming's quality management ideas, and then he worked in an alternative school in Los Angeles, the Apollo School, that Dr. Brad Green was at. I wish I knew more about Brad Green's. Sue, did I ask you one day, you and Sharon, do you know what Brad Green's status is?
Yeah,
No.
I don't think either one of us know.
Yeah, I don't know. He should have been younger, but could have passed on. I don't know. But at one time, everybody, Brad Green was doing Rose. Back in the early days, the basic intensive training and the advanced intensive training and the certification training were all 4.5-day workshops or training sessions. So we called them basic intensive week. It started on Monday morning and finished at noon on Friday. Well, And then it went to maybe 4 days, but Brad Green was doing maybe 30 of those workshops a year in school systems. And other people have had, Jim Montagnes in Canada, and then Bob Hogan, especially all over, especially down here in Florida. We're doing quality school, Glasser quality school training, because it was a combination of control theory, the reality therapy, and the wonderful ideas of W. Edwards Deming, the quality management stuff. And so then Glasser worked with Brad Green in the Apollo School. Again, my understanding is that it was an alternative high school where they sent the kids that were dropping out, not doing the work, were oppositional, defiant kind of youngsters. And Brad Green later defined himself as, he says, I was a very effective boss manager. I was a very good boss man. He was successful. And anyway, so somewhere or another, Brad Green got exposed to Glasser, and boom, it's like an epiphany. Gee, how the heck have I been doing this decently with this kind of thinking when there's this over here? So anyway, Glasser worked with Brad Green in that school, and the Apollo School. And I think also that could be the kind of school where they not only sent the problem kids, but they also sent faculty that they couldn't get rid of. But they didn't want them in their better schools. So some of them went there. So you got this really difficult thing. And 3 years later, the Apollo School became the school of choice that everybody wanted their kid to go to. A phenomenal turnover. So the book, The Quality School, talks about all that. And then Glasser jumped on that back. Look at him, he's writing books, a book a year or every 2 years or so. It was just phenomenal. And he's still going out and doing, 40, 50, 60 one-day programs a year, speaking to people. He then broadened it to the control theory manager. So that was his first book on lead management. So today we talk about choice theory, reality therapy, lead management, quality school. All of those are part of it. And of course, today, actually, choice theory would be the core, the foundation of, and its application in counseling is reality therapy, or counseling with choice theory. Its application in management is lead management, and the application of the quality school ideas and choice theory is the quality school program. So for a good while along, Glasser wrote books with the title Control Theory on them. And then there was this, I think this case studies book, Control Theory, and the Practice of Reality Therapy. Even the Quality School, I have control theory in it. And the Control Theory Manager. All right. And then, and even a couple of books in school, control theory in the classroom, that sort of thing too. I don't have it exactly clear. Maybe Sue or Mona or Sharon, when we go into the discussion period, could share something there. But I guess this was the term control. And then so somewhere along this evolution, then he renamed the psychology from control theory to choice theory. And I like to use the term choice theory psychology. if you just say choice theory, it's easy for people to try to discount it. Oh, it's just a theory. Well, when you take theories of psychology, you read all these different theories, Freudian, Adlerian, what have you. They're all theories. People make a good case for them, enough to convince other people to study them and adopt them, too. But I like to use choice theory psychology. That seems to have a little bit more boom. And we know that that's a psychology of personal freedom. It's a theory of human motivation, behavior, and brain function. And here, so I think, hold on. I think that kind of is what I wanted to do in terms of moving from reality therapy without any theoretical foundation into the connection with William Powers and control theory and Glasser's early books. And it's impressive. He continually rethought and re-examined what he was doing and rewrote things and expanded and what have you, too. Then the shift to choice theory, and maybe one of you can give us the discussion on the renaming of the institute to the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. I'd be eager to hear that.
Okay, Wendell.
Let me leave you with one thing as a final deal. I apologize. There's not going to be time for the quiz.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you for all of your information you've given.
Let me give one last thing. I got this from Nancy Buck the other day. She got it from somebody and could not remember. And this is like one of these things. Why haven't I heard this in the previous 30 or 40 years? Well, okay, here it is. Reality therapy is what we do.
Mhm.
Choice theory is why we do it.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
can't do a theory, but you can do a therapy.
But that's a nice kind of underlining phrase to it. So with all that in mind, remember the brain is a control system.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate it, Wendell.
I said
And,
the others, I'm not
just-
going to.
Just FYI, in Jim Roy's book, William Glasser, Champion of Choice, on page 247 is where it introduces Brad Green. Someone with Glasser, I think it was Linda Harshman, had heard him speak and mentioned how much they enjoyed him because he was a principal of a 350 student school. And he made the comment to Dr. Glasser, said he's a whole lot like you. He's real quiet, but he makes a lot of sense. And so Dr. Glasser called him after that, and it goes on through the end of the book, or through the end of that particular chapter, about what Dr. Glasser learned from Brad Green. So thank you very much. And we will close out the recording for today. And those that are here, you're welcome to take Wendell's quiz if you'd like, and some discussion. So thanks for being here.